Hello, everyone. We are excited to see you. And if you can turn on your videos, that helps us feel like we're here together with you, doing some peer-to-peer learning in a wonderful roundtable session. I'm Adriana Dakin, co-leader of Imagine Pod. I co-lead it with Trecia, who's here, and with Abigail, who had to be in meetings all day long, but she was the one who initiated this roundtable idea. And I love it better than masterclasses because it's peer-to-peer learning and it's fun and it's relaxed and it's productive. So I think this is my new favorite format. This is our first one. Recently, I've been running a successful fundraising incubator and providing facilitated mindset sessions that have resulted in over 7 million in the last 2 years. I'm a longtime strategist and facilitator in digital fundraising, marketing, and partnerships. And we decided to host these roundtables so that we can share with each other. We're living in times that are uncertain and fast changing. They require a lot of pivoting and ideas and inspiration. Sometimes we even need to work harder than we had before because we're trying to figure, I'm going to add some more people in because we're figuring out how these changes, how to navigate everything. We need more connection and we need points of contact with our peers and topic experts. At the end of this hour, Trecia and I will introduce you to a free accelerator for those who want more peer-to-peer collaboration, like no matter what platform you're on or where you are in the world, it'll be virtual and it'll help you fuel your energy and success for year-end fundraising. We'll cover 11 topics and bring in amazing experts. So stay tuned till the end of this roundtable for the details. I co-lead this with Trecia and Abigail, as I said, and here is Trecia to introduce herself.
Hey everyone, I am Trecia. It's so nice to see you. And for those that I can't see as yet, it's so nice to have you here. As Adriana said, I'm a co-leader here and I'm a lifelong woman in tech. I've spent my entire life in technology. And as I have, seen technology evolve and come through the years, I fundamentally believe that we can use technology to have an impact. Because of that, I started my own creative company some years ago. I'm the founder of Created in Color Labs. We're a mission-driven marketing company. I'm also a tech mentor at Dell Women Entrepreneur Network. I'm on the board at FSIC, and I focus on AI and tech inclusion. And I'm a big believer that AI will create change, but it involves all of us getting involved. So I won't go into that. And I'm also a mentor and a coach focusing in on tech and tech leadership and how you can use technology where you are right now to create change, whatever your context is. So I'm Trecia again, and I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Trecia, you're amazing. And we have another amazing person here. So I'll introduce Celeste Flores. I met her about 2 weeks ago. She's our special guest at this roundtable. She's the US and Canada Hub Director at givingtuesday.org. And she is active in generosity movements, in grassroots fundraising, social impact, community-wide giving campaigns. From my own experience with her earlier this month, I know how much value she provides. So the day after I had her training, I said, can we do a roundtable with you? And then we're like, hey, we need to get this done before the election. Can we do Halloween morning or noon, whatever time zone it is for all of you? So here is Celeste. Please introduce yourself. And then she has a short training for us so we can all be on the same page with some tips from her wide experience. And then we'll have some discussion time. So think about your questions and hold on to them.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I was really excited to do this, and I am so excited to be in your company. And I hope that these few minutes, when I go through this, that I have slides, and that creates a level of changing the dynamic. But I am a peer, and I hope you think of me as a peer in this space, because I am really excited to be with you in company and really use this opportunity to learn from one another. And what I'm sharing with you is exactly what I've learned as working at Giving Tuesday. I have a varied background and kind of have been a jack of all trades, but by way of introduction, I just wanted to share with you my background. So hopefully makes it seem that I know what I'm talking about. I am been in the space for a really, really long time and had many different roles. And I've been an executive director and a community leader for Giving Tuesday. I'm now director of the hub for US and Canada, but more importantly, I've done a lot of community-based work. And the pictures in here are showing the community campaign that I used to run in Austin, Texas, before moving to the DC area and joining the Giving Tuesday team. But I was a leader for what we call community leaders of the Giving Tuesday network, and ran a community-wide campaign, did several of those, and just learned so much in that process. And what I want to talk to you today about is, one, I'm going to take a step back and talk about the genesis of this giving moment that we all take advantage of in some way or know about in some way. But a lot of people don't really understand the breadth of the opportunity. And what I talk about here is really some strategies and lessons learned from our community leaders, from nonprofits that use a shared giving moment like Giving Tuesday to create strategy. And really what I'm talking about isn't just for Giving Tuesday, but really strategy for any time of the year when you're trying to create community for your mission. And so that's really kind of the more meta view of what I want to talk about today, is how we create more community and bring people along with us to create an effort that is supporting our work. And this could be applied to something professional and personal, but a lot of you are already in this space and know this, but I'm just sharing what I have learned along the way. But to take a step back, Giving Tuesday's Day, depending on how you enter this conversation, you might have a different understanding. But it is a little over, we're in our teenage years, it's over 10 years old, but the day was simply created as a day to do good. It was born out of the 92nd Y in New York, their Center for Social Innovation. It was after Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Hey, we need a day to focus on others, and let's do Giving Tuesday. And that's how it started. Now, the nonprofit community of the world now, but of the US, really took it as that fundraising opportunity. And, it really is meant to be bigger than that. But now, even though it started in the US, has now is celebrated and is part of 100 plus countries who do Giving Tuesday movement in some way that is relevant to the local cultures, the local giving, what works for those countries. And it's all under the mission of growing global generosity. And not just for the day, we're talking about changed behaviors. And a lot of our work is done year round. I work with these leaders year round to create more generosity in their community, and ultimately leading to more generous behaviors and operating from a place of generosity. That is when better decisions are made, better processes are created, and better solutions are co-created. So it started as a day to do good, and now this is the kind of the ecosystem of how the Giving Tuesday movement grew into a young person's movement under it called Giving Tuesday Spark. We have over 100 country leaders leading it. We have programming, but we also have a really big data commons. And a lot of people don't realize half of our team is our data scientists and behavioral scientists and really smart data people that I don't know how to operate in their world. They just tell me all of the wonderful things that we are studying and the data that we have accessible to us. We have relationships with all the major platforms, and so we're able to have that transaction data to then what we produce is lots of meaningful insights to lead to strategy. So if you didn't know we had a data commons, come check us out on the website of all of the resources. We even have graphs that you could lift and put into your presentation from on the ground standpoint. But the day is big, it raises a lot of money, but more importantly, what this shows is the different ways in which people celebrate the day. And that's what I'm really going to talk about, is more of a comprehensive type of campaign, not just for Giving Tuesday, again, ways that we could do this year round. It is a big day that raises money, but it's not called Fundraising Tuesday, it's Giving Tuesday. But we're talking about how people give of their time and their money and their voice and their goods. And actually, it is about more than one way to give. And we know for days like Giving Tuesday and Giving Tuesday specifically, people are doing more than one act of generosity. So in the fundraising world, it's always like, you only ask for money because you need money. But it is not binary. It's not or, it's and how people like to express their generosity in all the assets that they have, money and time, money and goods. Actually, it's a very small percentage of the whole complexion of what people do on Giving Tuesday is only money, is a small percentage. But this is how the community or how the movement organized naturally. And then now we have a team that supports this. But my team works specifically with a lot of community campaigns in the US and Canada that are place-based. Those are community leaders creating a campaign for the entire community to celebrate Giving Tuesday or other times of the year. And so we have over 300 community campaigns that are either place-based, identity-based, culturally based in the US, and that this model is somewhat replicated in other countries that see the movement growing this way. But what it comes down to is community-led, for the community, of the community, because our community leaders in the US specifically raise almost twice as much more as a community campaign than they do as individual organizations or counties that don't have a community campaign. What we're talking about here is leveraging giving moments and collective giving and creating community around our work. This shows you just a isolated view of what 2020 looked like, where there were spikes in giving, obviously in these shared giving moments. There's Giving Tuesday at the end of the year. During the pandemic, we had a second Giving Tuesday as a response by our leader community saying, we are all experiencing this. This is a time for us to come together. And we created Giving Tuesday Now, or they created Giving Tuesday Now, I should say. And that's the second spike you see. I don't ever want to do another Giving Tuesday, a second Giving Tuesday, if we don't have to, but that was pandemic related. But what this is showing is spike in collective giving. What it also does is show us, though, and this is more recent data, this is last year, that giving and percentage of givers are still giving locally. One of the things that Giving Tuesday hears a lot is it's like big national or international organizations that are winning days like this, or that have the budget to do this, or have the everybody's giving internationally. And that is just not true. Local giving and giving to organizations that are meaningful and in people's spaces is still very important. Not saying that national organizations aren't also doing really well in engaging new donors or percentage of donors, but I show this because when I do talk with nonprofits, I think it gets really lost that it's the big nonprofits, international nonprofits that are, raising lots of money on this day. And that's really not true. Our data shows that it's really local giving, and it's small and medium-sized nonprofits that do well because of their nimbleness and creativity and their ability to create something tangible and understandable, if you will, for people to give. But so in this work, though, it is about creating community. And I provide this as a smattering of understanding what is your community. When we are talking about going after volunteers or donors or whatever it is that your organization needs, how, though, am I creating a community so that I'm bringing people along? They're speaking for me when I'm not in the room, or rooms that I don't have access to, that they are showing up for us and that they are believing in the mission and will do the work with us. And when we think about where we're going to get new donors or new audiences, it's about identifying communities that you already work with and communities that you're missing in your work, or communities that you could collaborate with. And what these community campaigns that I've been talking about, how they materialize and what they look like is stakeholders in different capacities and in different industries coming together for a shared mission and a shared goal. And that can mean anything. That could be for Cleveland, Ohio, wanting to raise $1 million for their local nonprofits and getting people to volunteer and do acts of kindness all over the city. but it also can mean a community that is focused on domestic violence work in a particular area with that is supporting your work and that is passionate about the issue and wants to support local community organizations that are addressing a particular cause. So your communities can look very different at any given time, but it is about how to explore these communities and bring them with you. And so a lot of our community campaigns, that is what they're focused on, is always how do they include more, how do they bring others along, and how do they co-create? I provide this list as a collective of ideas on how some of these community campaigns come together, but also how nonprofits use Giving Tuesday. Again, there's many ways to use a shared moment that takes advantage that you take advantage of to achieve a goal for your organization. So while you need to raise money, not saying that that isn't an important ask, but what else could you add to your campaign that might bring someone else in that is not that is either not in your community yet, or another group that is not in your community yet, that might something else might resonate with them. Because again, somebody volunteering is more likely to give you money. Somebody who has been to one of your events or has seen your mission in action, they are touching and feeling your work in a different way and give you money, not or, but and. So we have a lot of organizations that use the day to either tether it with another strategy that they have going on before or after Giving Tuesday, to either thank people and acknowledge for something that passed, or prime the pump for something that's coming up. And we've seen so many great campaigns out there that break through the noise. And what we mean by that, because I hear that also about Giving Tuesday, is what is your goal with Giving Tuesday? On the other side of Giving Tuesday, what does success look like? And then that determines your strategies to then break through the noise, if you will. The idea of everyone in the country knowing your organization's name and website is not a possible outcome unless you have a ridiculous marketing budget. So that is really understanding and getting focused on the day, just like any other strategy you have, has to have a goal. And what are the strategies to get to that goal? And that is what success looks like for you. And that is what is breaking through the noise, is how we see this. Shotgun approach and just putting your name and your email, your website out there with a message that it's Giving Tuesday, give to us on social media. That just is not a winning strategy. And unfortunately, people get very disappointed and then they say that it doesn't work for them. But it has to be used with intention, as any other strategy you do. Everything should be with intention, because you also don't want to waste your time, and sometimes it just doesn't work for everyone to use the day in a certain way. So think about how it all hangs together within a given year. It's not just an add-on. Any of these shared giving moments, your community might have another, spring giving day that you take advantage of, like my community did in Austin. We had a giving day in the spring, and then we also had a Giving Tuesday campaign. All of them tethered together and grew from one another. So this is just to show you the power of giving people more than one entry point to engage in your work. I'm going to share with you some of this data from our recent Give Pulse. Give Pulse is a survey that we send out weekly to 100 people in the US and understand giving patterns. And these are just some of the trends we saw in the last quarter, just to provide some context of what you might think about going into 2024 or even Giving Tuesday, is the increase in-person giving. Not saying that mobile giving and online giving isn't happening, but we are, at least in our community campaigns, we are also seeing a lot of our community leaders going back to in-person gatherings. This is what people are clamoring for and able to touch and feel. Not saying that you have to create something. I'm just saying, is there another opportunity to add an in-person component to something you are already doing for those that do love to do that? The other prevailing strategy right now is reoccurring giving. And reoccurring giving is actually continues to grow and stay steady when we do see decline in giving in the last few years. Reoccurring giving is also popular with a younger demographic who is used to subscriptions. And the idea of buying something and then either collectively knowing that it's going to be something bigger at the end of the year, but at $25 at a time, it's palatable. The other thing is they're used to doing something that's quick and easy. And so if you do not do reoccurring gifts on your website, think about how you could do that. If you do reoccurring giving, what do you know about those people and how do you grow that part of your program? So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about collective campaigns to see how this plays out in action. That was a lot of theory, but and I'm not saying that you as an individual organization have to create these kinds of campaigns, but I'm talking about what the power of collectively coming together with other stakeholders of yours to create something and creating more community, what it could do. So this is Ray in Lebanon, Ohio. She is an individual who actually works at the time she was working for a credit union. She just saw a miss in her community. There was a lack in funding, specifically around the pandemic. She was a community leader, had been involved in lots of different organizations, and she decided to put her time and her resources into creating a giving guide for Giving Tuesday for people locally who wanted to give to local organizations but didn't know where to give. And she created something very simple, to this day still has a giving guide that represents and talks about all of the organizations in their local community on Giving Tuesday, and also trains the nonprofits on how to use and leverage Giving Tuesday. And this was about her just pulling people together in her community for that shared mission. This is Kenzie with an organization called Make a Day. And Make a Day is a volunteer organization throughout the year, but she also pulled together service providing organizations that were in the similar space and created a community campaign so that there was not only something that people could attend and go to on Giving Tuesday, but shared it with the work with many organizations who were there. It actually was a Friendsgiving dinner that was providing homeless meals, the homeless in her area a meal, but also there were barbers there who were providing haircuts. There were food bank and clothing places there to provide. You could drop off coats, but then people could also pick up coats. So it was this really community-wide event of pulling service providers together that was additive to their campaigns. So those are just two quick examples because I want to get to your questions and to y'all learning from one another is, okay, so in theory, those are organized events and they're matured. How did this start? And it started with doing some network mapping and understanding who is in your network, working with your volunteers, your board, your staff members, and saying who is in our network and who are we reaching and not reaching. And it's really an exercise that we did in Austin, and not understanding all of the places that my board and employees or staff members had connection to, and realizing where our deltas were and who we were not inviting to the table or missing at the table. And this provided us kind of a roadmap of areas that we wanted to get to, but areas that we had well covered and weren't taking advantage of in a sophisticated way. We are all tapped for time and resources, and you're like, this is one more thing I have to do. And it really is about baby steps. You might already be doing this, and this is great, and you just continue to do this work, but teach someone else how to do this. Pass this skill along to someone else of how they network map and identify new communities and communities that they are in that they didn't realize that they were in, because this is about creating community, and this is generative and abundant thinking, and not that competitive mindset that is pervasive in our sector. But that's what our leaders are doing and seeing great success. So I'll provide a couple of hows. Okay, you're like, Giving Tuesdays in 4 weeks. How does this even go? I'm not saying you have to do something for Giving Tuesday, but maybe think about adding something if you're already thinking of doing something for year end. You have a year end campaign coming up. What are you doing with the day that makes it special? Maybe there's a match. Maybe there's just a thankathon. Maybe there's an actual event so people could see things before they get the letter in the mail. But as I said before, these are just some tips on what, not just for Giving Tuesday, but things that you really about creating a collective effort. Things to think about. Again, collective goals or goal period is really number one. And then and it doesn't have to be financial. It could be financial and something else. And stories and anecdotal is also important to gather. It doesn't necessarily have to be just binary of numbers. And then think of it in a year-round respect. Don't think of it as an isolated event. As I said before, think of different entry points that people can join you on the journey in ways that are meaningful to them, not just to you. I know that it's really hard to ask somebody for something and not just say only money. But if we are losing the engagement with people and creating relationship, if we're not offering ways that are meaningful to them. I provide you with, and you'll get copies of this presentation, and within it is links straight to our generosity toolbox, our communication templates, all sorts of things that you can pretty much copy and paste. Maybe use AI to help you also customize, but still making it meaningful and of your voice. But it's about building something together. If you want to, if you think maybe for Giving Tuesday, I tried to do something with an organization that is in my wheelhouse, or maybe it's an organization that you really haven't done a lot with. And then building that moment together, and what is the call to action, and sharing it. It's about building community. More importantly, having other people talk about your organization, not just you talking about your organization. Who in your orbit would be great, help you with fundraising, help you with the volunteer event, but share the work, communicate what it is that you are actually doing, and making sure that you have two things that you are, how are you going to measure success? And then how are you going to thank people who were engaged and involved? The thank you is more, to me, more important in planning than just the actual ask, because that is where you create your relationship and going from transaction to transformation. And so I leave you with this of what I consider secrets to a sustainable collaboration, but actually it's Giving Tuesday's way, if you will. My work is not saying that we are experts, my team are experts of how to do Giving Tuesday. What we do is provide a platform with a small p of people to share ideas and learnings with one another. Something that might be working in one part of the country might work in another part of the country, and it's about sharing that. It's also about co-creation. We have a lot of leaders that create toolkits together, or create a toolkit of something that worked for them. It is not about us just creating that information, but we're also working from a place of collective work, and realizing that there is much more out there to garner than trying to get a bigger piece of the same pie, if you will. But I also ask you to use your imagination with this campaign and see if there's something that you can add or do different, and start with baby steps. Don't get overwhelmed. Just think about, not even if it's just for this Giving Tuesday, but what does your 2025 look like, and creating that journey for someone to come along with you in your community, to create community with someone that you've not created community with before, or to further your relationship with someone in your community. So I went through that really fast.
Good
I
job.
want to make sure that you guys have time.